"36 years after the war ended in Vietnam, I went to Saigon, now called Ho Chi Minh City, as part of a group of clowns led by Joseph Fungus Mungus, a protege of Patch Adams. You might have seen a movie about Patch starring Robin Williams. Our goal was to bring a little joy and happiness to children at orphanages and hospitals, most of them abandoned by the poverty that still exists in this tiny country. Many of the children we visited are genetic victims of Agent Orange, the toxic defoliant that was dumped by the tons onto Vietnam during the war. Its poison continues to damage generations of offspring of exposed Vietnamese and American GIs with an assortment of cancers and physical deformities. My journey was a visit to a once war-torn country, the sights, sounds, and smells of yesterday mixing with those of today. Pictures of Ho Chi Minh, the George Washington of Vietnam, are still everywhere. Motorbikes in the thousands during the war are now counted in the millions. Crossing the wide streets seemed almost suicidal until my young guide and friend of 8 years, Tuan, shown here with her husband Vu, took me by the arm and explained how a steady and rhythmic stride could get me safely from one side to the other. The tanks that broke through the gates of the presidential palace in April of 1975, effectively ending the war, are on display at the palace, as are the bric-a-brac of military killing in the War Remnants Museum. Perhaps it is a sign of the forgiving nature of the Vietnamese people that a fourth-floor display is dedicated to the courage and compassion of American GIs. The sounds of commerce and the smell of good food are everywhere in the city. It was the same 36 years ago, except probably more of it now. I am sure, though, that the smiles in the city today are broader and the laughter louder than yesterday. I had a few days before the clowns arrived, so I flew to the Central Highlands, where much of the jungle fighting took place during the war. Today there are farms, serenity, colors, and the many flowers that the Vietnamese love so much. And I went to the Mekong Delta, the place of gunboats and arms shipments during the war, now still fertile beds of rice everywhere, as well as the tiny canals for the locals to take their produce, mainly vegetables, to markets and villages. The Cu Chi tunnels are situated 20 miles northwest of Saigon, during the war practically under the noses of the Americans. It is where Vietnamese guerrillas lived, had their babies, and made weapons of war. Today, they are an iconic reminder to their people of the war. Parts are still open to the public, though they are terribly hot to stay in for long. And then came the clowns. My clown name is Mary Jerry. Here I am with Fungus. The next week was, in a real sense, for me, a linkage of the old with the new, with laughter serving as the bridge. I think of the 100 or so countries I have visited. Not one has yet been able to solve the problems brought on by poverty. And so it is with Vietnam. As we tried to make the children in orphanages and hospitals laugh at our silly costumes, faces, and skits, I thought about my own impoverished childhood and how a few times grown-ups whom I didn't even know brought laughter and hope to me. Just compare the faces of the children when we arrived with the ones when we were ready to leave. Leaving is hard. My friend Tawan said it best for me as I got ready to go to the airport. I don't like farewell moments, she said. As I sat in the Tan Son airport, waiting for my plane to take me home, I thought about the war, about the men and women who long ago arrived in Vietnam at this very same airport and who never went home, or, if so, in a body bag. And I thought about the many wonderful Vietnamese people I just met in the past few weeks, of the children who laughed, no matter their circumstances. And I began again to wonder about us all. I'm Mary Jerry Brooker. Thanks for watching.